Hands up if you thought you were going to see a literal murder or maybe potential murder in the world of professional wrestling in 2020. The hand goes down because I never called it, and yet last night in Impact, somebody, at least for now, is dead. So we have a whodunit storyline, and we are going to talk about it later and maybe give it an up and maybe give it a down, who knows. But look, Bound for Glory was a few days ago. It was a very nice pay-per-view, or so I believed. So now we've got to carry on the journey. Let's up those downs for the latest episode of Impact. Well, that is not the worst way to start your fallout from your big show, because as soon as Impact had its big video of like, oh, wrestling's amazing, I love wrestling, we just had Rich Swann, the brand new Impact World Heavyweight Champion, fighting with Eric Young backstage. I mean, they were kicking each other's ass. Referees tried to split them up when they eventually made it out to the ring, and Scott D'Amore, the hardest working man in wrestling, was also here going, would you all just calm down? This is not how we do it. But Eric Young wanted his rematch right here and right then. And then Rich Swann agreed, even though he was like in his dress pants and basically in his street clothes. And we had our world title rematch right there and right then. I didn't see it coming, is getting it up. But this was really great because, again, Rich Swann looked like he'd just come out of his house and he was selling his testicles, keeping punched in there by Eric Young. So you kind of had this feeling like, are Impact actually going to switch the world title that quickly? I mean, is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? As it turned out, we really didn't need to worry. Because when the action got going properly too, not only did I like it, but it certainly did not outstay its welcome. I mean, we'd already had the big fracas fight beforehand, so you didn't need to do much of a match. So yeah, Rich Swann got in control, he hit the Phoenix Splash, he got the 1, 2, 3, he remained your Impact World Heavyweight Champion, and now within the space of what, 10, 12, 15 minutes, Eric Young can go to a different feud, Rich Swann can go for a different feud. It just felt different to me. Got me kind of excited. It felt fresh, like a lovely baked new loaf of bread. I don't know. More of this. Right, then the madness started because Havoc and Levi were backstage and they confirmed that James Mitchell has been brought back to the dead. Thought it was a little bit of a shame. I thought we were going to see some kind of spell like, hello, here's your ma, and we'd see him, I don't know, pop out the floor. But no, he's just back. But they weren't bothered about that right now because they were more interested in the returning Impact Knockout World Tag Team Championships. They, along with a bunch of other women, went to try and find Scott D'Amore because, of course, he knows everything about this because, again, he is the hardest working man in wrestling. But unfortunately, they ran into Caleb with a K instead. But he had all the information because he's on his phone, he loves social media, and said, look, Impact has announced what they're going to do, and in 3 weeks, we're going to begin a tournament. I thought, okay, that's fine. I really enjoyed tournament. Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan then laughed at Alicia Edwards because she didn't have a partner when Jordynne Grace came, and she said, you know what? I'll be a partner, and you're going to regret saying this because we're going to have a match later on. As it's going to turn out, Grace really should have thought twice about this. We were then having a hardcore Halloween match between Brian Myers and Tommy Dreamer, and this was continuing on the feud that these two have been having. But again, because it was a hardcore match, there was just a bunch of weapons and crazy spots here. And on occasion, when you don't have fans, it's just like you're watching CCTV footage of a mugging. It can be really uncomfortable. But look, these two went all out to entertain us, and it was fine. It was fun. They could have it up. Dreamer still had on his Road Warrior animal face paint to continue on that tribute, which was nice. And yeah, they found, what do they find? Chairs, kendo sticks, there's probably tables, there was a crutch. Basically, if there was any kind of weapon that could be swung, these two were swinging it. It then got really weird because Tommy Dreamer revealed that he had a bag full of thumbtacks and candy corn. I was like, how the hell do you even put all that stuff together? And if you thought it couldn't get even more bizarre, well, you weren't aware of the finish. Because earlier on, Tommy Dreamer had tried to put this garbage can in the ring, but for some reason, it weighed about 72 million tons. And the reason for that is because inside was Hornswoggle, the answer to all of wrestling storylines questions. He smashed Myers right in the balls with like some barbecue tongs or something, and that was so devastating, Dreamer was able to DVD Brian Myers through a table, and I kind of sat here with a massive confused look on my face, because again, much like everything on this stupid show, I didn't see it coming. We'll have to wait and see, I guess, but I suppose we may actually be getting Brian Myers versus the Swog. We had an interview with Rhino and Heath afterwards, and Rhino has decided they should go after the tag team championships because of course he won the Call Your Shot gauntlet, so now he's calling their shot. But there was something kind of interesting here because Heath kept like no selling questions about his injuries, if he was an injury and he was ripped and ready to go. but he's absolutely not. He hurt himself quite bad at the pay-per-view, and he may need some time off. But there was an awkwardness in the air, and that was part of the narrative, so maybe these two are going to go after the tag team titles, but fail miserably. But I love them as a partnership, and next week Heath is finally gonna sign his contract. Then all this damn stuff with the money. Like, Hernandez finally found Fallah Bahh, and he was like, give me my cash. And Fallah Bahh was like, I don't have your cash, I gave it to Johnny Bravo. So they searched him, they couldn't find it, they went off to find J-Dog, and then Fallah Bahh was like, tee hee hee, I've got the money. All of this just makes Hernandez look like an absolute goof. Triple XL then defeated the Rascals. Now look, I love both of these teams, and I think it's a really good way to showcase how diverse Impact's tag team division is, but I kind of feel like we've seen these two go at it over and over and over again, and also, they just keep trading wins, so we don't get anywhere. It's like being in your house, then Google mapping to your house. So sadly, it has just become a case of diminishing returns, and even after Big Larry D had jumped off the top rope and splashed Xavier to get the 1-2-3, which was very impressive, I didn't really find myself investing because I'd given all of my investment to the 56,729 bouts I'd already seen. So unfortunately, this is getting it down. And then D'Amore was busting his ass again. Somebody needs to give this guy a break because Deonna Purrazzo was in his face and she was all like, look, what happened at Bound for Glory when Su Yung just turned up when I was expecting Kylie Rae is absolute bullcrap. I've got a lawyer, I've got a barrister, I've got an attorney, and if you don't sort this out, I will sue you, and I will sue you straight to hell. And there is some kind of truth to that, so we were going to have to sort it out in some fashion. And Scott D'Amore, even though he had the busiest schedule ever, was like, I'm going to go to the ring, and we can deal with it there. Before that, though, we had to write Alex Shelley off TV for a while. I'm guessing that's what happened, because not only was he taken out of the match at the weekend because he did have an injury, but here, after him and Chris Sabin had done a promo saying, we're going to get our tag team titles back, Triple XL arrived, and they just kicked the crap out of him, and Alex Shelley did not look pleased at all. I mean, with you, Triple XL, surprisingly, given the name, are really, really big. So I do hope Alex Shelley gets better soon, but in better news, I just said I wanted something new for this team, so maybe when the Motor City Machine Guns are good to go, we can have that. Okay, so the situation with the Knockouts women's title. Scott D'Amore was out here and he was like, look, I've looked over the footage and I've talked to management, I did a little twirl, and we have decided that nothing went wrong and Su Yung is the rightful champion. This led Deonna and her lawyer, barrister, whatever you want to call him, R.D. Evans, who used to write for WWE, by the way, to confront him and say, well, okay, that's fine, that's what you think, but we are now going to take you through the courts and you're just going to be wasting money and it's not going to be any good for you. But Scott D'Amore, he'd already thought about this. He went, yeah, but I can also reverse that. If we're stuck in the courts for 77,000 years, then you're never going to get your title shot. So why don't you just have your rematch next week? And Deonna Purrazzo was like, yeah, that actually sounds quite good. And all of this was fine too, and it was nice to add Evans into the mix, but I gotta say, it just took too long. Eventually, Su Yung did come out, and she just got rid of everybody. Like, she even tagged Scott D'Amore, because she's all crazy and zombie-like, and she probably doesn't have a moral compass. But we could have done that maybe even 5 to 8 minutes sooner, and it just would have given this segment a little bit more pep. I also find that I am still disappointed we didn't get Deonna Purrazzo versus Kylie Rae, because I was just so pumped for it, but obviously more importantly, I just hope Kylie Rae is okay. Don't really know what went down. As long as she's got a big smile on her face like usual, everything will be alright, but in terms of a fan sitting his ass on a sofa, just gotta get it down. Everybody is also after Rich Swann because, of course, he's the brand new heavyweight champion. And here he was celebrating with the good guys. Then Moose came up to him like, oh, I want a title shot, because Moose is all crazy. Then of all people, Willie Mack stood up to him, and that's not going to go well. We'll get to it in a second. And when Rich Swann left, he was also being eyed up by Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock. He's about to have at least 8 feuds. I also think we've got another program on the horizon because the North were also celebrating that they're the brand new tag team champions when they bumped into Gallows and Anderson, and these 4 also had a fight. And I'm all down for that. That is 2 couple of good tag teams. They will have some decent matches. Rohit Raju, the X Division champion, is growing on me. He's just such a goof. Like, he was trying to have his own celebration here because, of course, he retained his championship at the pay-per-view, but there was nobody there because he's pissed everybody off. Eventually, Jimmy Jacobs arrived and he was like, man, I thought there was a party, and he was going to leave, but Raju convinced him to stay, but then he got kicked out when he insinuated that really, at Bound for Glory, TJP was going to win, and Rohit stole the victory. So yeah, out he went, and sadly, Rohit Raju is now all alone. And I think if you are watching this out there, That's a life lesson for us all. Don't betray your friends. Don't be a massive dick. And then our first big major story seed was planted because Johnny Bravo fined Fallah Bahh. He is like, why did you send Hernandez after me? I don't need this on my wedding day. And as Fallah tried to explain, Johnny went, you know what? You're dead to me. And what could that mean? Next up was that tag match with Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz taking on Jordynne Grace and Alicia Edwards. Give it up. The story was that Grace did realise she made a huge error because even though she tried to control things, Alicia Edwards wasn't in for that and she kept trying to inject herself into the situation. It didn't work because when she was in there, she just got absolutely beaten up and looked a little bit like a chump. Eventually she was able to get the hot tag and Jordynne was in here throwing people around like the beast that she is, but I guess he then had some kind of sympathy or empathy for Alicia because she tagged her back in. Once again, she just dropped the ball. Why? Because she went careering into Jordynne, maybe on purpose, maybe by accident, who knows. It looked like it was a mistake, which allowed their opponents to hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. And if you're looking at records, Jordynne Grace and Alicia Edwards have now fought once, and they have lost. They also had a massive pushing match afterwards, so you already know what's going to happen here. They're going to become the Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler of Impact, like they hate each other, but they're a team, and maybe they find mutual respect. And I will call it now, I bet they actually win the Women's Tag Team Championship. Willie Mack then got attacked as he was going to his car by the Moose, because again, earlier, Moose really wasn't pleased with him trying to be the big boy. And then Taya Valkyrie tried to tell Rosemary that Johnny Bravo has lost it and maybe she needs to rethink the wedding. But do you know what Rosemary said? She went, look, I got better ideas than just leaving him at the altar. What could that mean? Maybe it makes her a suspect. And what am I talking about? Well, it's the wedding. Plug yourself in. Let's go. James Mitchell was back, and as I said, it was just so anticlimactic. He walked down the rampway, and I'd been in an interview. I'd be like, James, can you please tell us about being dead? I'm massively intrigued about it. And to be fair to Impact Wrestling, they didn't spend overly long on this. In fact, it moved pretty quickly, and that made it far more enjoyable. We did all the vows, and Johnny Bravo said some crazy stuff, but nothing was as weird as Rosemary going, as soon as I smelled your virgin blood, I was like, man, I'm glad I'm not watching this with my parents because I'd be a little bit embarrassed. And then just as they were about to say, I do, the lights went out, you heard a gunshot, although it sounded more like a bomb going off, and when the lights came back on, Johnny Bravo was on the floor, he had blood on his shirt, as if he had been shot. Tommy Dreamer dropped to his knees like he was in the Evil Dead and went, no! And that's right, Impact is doing a whodunit storyline, because somebody just killed Johnny Bravo. So somebody writing this has clearly been watching Who Shot Mr. Burns and playing the riveting video game Among Us. This is the last thing that I thought Impact was going to do. I mean, they have embraced the soap opera side of pro wrestling and then some. But I tell you this, and look, it came as a bigger surprise to me as it would for anybody else. I thought this was the best twist and turn possible. We've already got a couple of suspects. Maybe it was Fallah Bahh, maybe it was Rosemary, maybe it was somebody else that Johnny Bravo's pissed off over the last 6 months. Maybe it was me. I've been moaning about it. But yeah, I thought this was the right path to take. Quite excited about next week's episode. It is getting it up. Has, though, unfortunately caused a massive problem for my kill 'em counter. Like, we'll bring it down now, and obviously we're up to 4, but this will be number 5. Now, this was meant to represent death threats in wrestling, but now somebody has actually passed on. But still, mark it up. There you go. Kill 'em counter continues to rock on. And also, you don't need to feel bad or sad for Johnny Bravo, because Impact has already established within their world, people can be brought back from the dead. So I'm sure John will be back very soon. And probably really pissed off. But as I have said before, and I will say it again, I love that Impact decides what it's going to do, and it doesn't care what I think, it doesn't care what you think, that's just what they want to do. So they do it, and if you want to buy in, great. If you don't want to watch it, you can get the controller and turn it off. I'm having quite a frolicking good time with all the shenanigans. We're getting it up. Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Impact, and also who shot and killed Johnny Bravo. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow What Culture on Twitter, What Culture WWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for AEW Dynamite ups and downs. You take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.